Hey, I just wanted to share something cool that's happened recently, which is just fascinating. I love how the world works. Sometimes things just seem to align. As you know, and if you listen to this podcast, I did an offer the other week called Roasted by Leanne. And the offer was, hey, send me something you're working on, something you like feedback on, and I will roast you. So I've had quite a few people book that in, and I delivered my first roast on someone's offer page around a productized service they were putting out. And I did their roast. It actually went for about 18 minutes. Like, oh my goodness. They found it really helpful and said that was a full-bellied roast full of generosity. And there's quite a few sort of tangible action items and things that I provided this person. And so really nice to see that roast was embraced in the spirit that it was given. But I'm here to talk to you about that offer. As a result of me sending out that offer, I actually reflected on it and I thought, if there was anyone in the world who I would like to roast my work, who would it be? And as you know, I'm sort of working up a few concepts for the next book. And the person that came to mind was a guy called Rob Fitzpatrick. He has the Write Useful Books community. He wrote the book Write a Useful Book, and is also the author of The Mum Test. And he also wrote a book called The Workshop Survival Guide, which I have not read. Actually, Alan Weiss gave me feedback. He's like, if you're writing a book, do not read any other book related to it because that'll influence what you end up writing, which is so counterintuitive to all the other book advice I've received in terms of like reference other books. So I haven't read Workshop Survival Guide, but I've heard it's great. Rob Fitzpatrick, I really like his approach, and I used his community and his software tool called helpthisbook.com when I was writing the 2-hour workshop blueprint. So Rob's the guy, I was like, yeah, I'd love him to roast my stuff, but I'm no longer part of his community. I reached out to his community organizer and just said, look, does Rob provide asynchronous roasting support? Here's what I'm offering my community. Does Rob do the same thing? So I'd love him to roast this concept I'm playing with. And Brian, his community manager, is like, sorry, not at the moment, but we'll keep that in mind. Something we've been talking about, and this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I wake up overnight to this email in my inbox from Brian, and he's like, hey, you know how I said we were thinking about it? Well, guess what? We're actually going to launch it, and next month, Rob's going to handpick a few authors to work with asynchronously, providing feedback. We'd love to invite you to be part of it. So I am absolutely over the moon that this opportunity, it wasn't there, right? Rob doesn't advertise it. Because of the fact that I had an offer and I reflected on it and thought, who would I want in the world to roast me? It's just amazing. So that kicks off in April. Best timing in the world. And you know what is interesting? Even as I reflect on it right now, let's say no one even booked a roast. I have still won because it forced me to think about that question. And now I'm getting this amazing opportunity to be part of a pilot program for this new service that Rob is eventually going to launch into the world, depending on how it goes, if he likes it, if we as authors like it too. There's just so much goodness in this. When we talk about return on luck, there's no way I would have known this would have been an option for me if I hadn't been brave enough to launch Roasted by Leanne, which is a little bit obnoxious, I have to admit. But the fact that that led me down this path then of getting to work with someone I really admire, getting his eyes on my work as I build this thing is so good. So a couple of things, I guess, measures of success sometimes aren't that black and white. If you were analytical and looking at Roasted by Leanne, you'd be looking at what's the uptake on this, how many people open the email, that type of thing. The unintended, incredible side effect of launching that offer has been something I never would have predicted or known. It wasn't an opportunity available on any public-facing website. I didn't know that Brian and Rob had been talking about it. Maybe my email brought it front of mind to them and said, hey, there's appetite for this. So good. I mean, you don't need to launch an offer to do this. Maybe if you were thinking about an idea and someone you'd like to work with, just drop them a note and just share, hey, I'd love this to be a thing. Because a lot of the time, as a creator myself, I'm paying attention to the questions people ask me, how I can help someone. And I don't like to predict that. I'd love to respond to a real issue or a real challenge. And the second thing is think about what you'd like to offer and the risk you're taking by putting it out there. So for me with Roasted by Leanne, there was no money risk. I wasn't losing any money by offering it. There was a little bit of a time risk, or as in a priority risk in terms of me putting some marketing effort towards that, but not too much time because I had this idea, I wrote it out. I have an email list already. I've got some branding already in place, so it's just a matter of just like throwing some things into Canva, putting a few things out, and just doing like a really low touch mail out. So the time investment wasn't that significant. And even as I reflect on that first roast that I delivered last week, I loved looking at it. I loved roasting various elements of it in that kind-hearted way and helping that person then redefine it and make it a really solid part of their business offering and attracting global work to the great stuff that they already do. And then the side unintended benefit is that, I get some pretty amazing eyeballs on the next bit of creative work that I would like to do too. So win, win, win. Now, no doubt there'll be maybe a couple episodes in April where I get roasted and I might share like how I'm feeling about that. But we'll see. So think about those risks in terms of time, effort, energy that you put into it. Maybe the payoff might be greater than you ever thought possible. Thanks so much. I'll speak to you tomorrow.